Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Max Minutes, June 21st. We are delighted to have the Georgia Department of Education with us today to talk about all the wonderful things they're doing as it relates to CTAE. Before we get started, as always, we'd like to thank the anchor sponsors for Max. They are all listed on the screen. Thank them all. Thank you all for your support of Max and your investment in the work that we do, because it really does make a difference and enables us to be able to offer wonderful programming like we are able to offer today. My name is Dana Inman. I'm the president and CEO of Atlanta Center for Self-Sufficiency. I also serve as the vice chair for Max. And I'm stepping in today for Daniela Perry, who's not able to be with us today, but she generally coordinates all of our Max Minutes. So today I'm excited that we have a great presentation. I'm really excited to have Dr. Barbara Wall with us, who's the Deputy Superintendent, and Patrick Ledford. And they're going to give us a presentation on all the things that are going on as it relates to CTAE and the high demand careers. And then after they finish their presentation, we will open up for the audience for questions. If you haven't already, please just drop your name in the chat so that we all know that who's here. And with no further ado, I will kick it off to Patrick. Actually, Dr. Wall, yes.
Yeah.
We'll roll either way you want to go, Dana. And we've got a lot of different things going on in career tech that relate to alignment. So we're going to focus on that alignment today, alignment of our workforce needs with the courses and the pathways that we offer with career tech and ag education. We can scoot on down to slide 3. This is just a reminder of what our mission and our vision is for career tech and ag education. We have released a new strategic plan this year. And our mission and vision is very similar to what we had. We just tweaked it a little bit. But the bottom line is we are getting kids ready for that workforce success. No matter when that is. It may be directly after high school. It may be after they go to a technical college for a couple of years. It may be a 4-year university. May enter the workforce through apprenticeship programs or the military. There's a whole host of ways of entering the workforce, and we work with students from all of those different areas. And we do work with all students from many different backgrounds. Doesn't matter what their educational choice is after high school, I mentioned that, but also different capabilities, students with special needs, students with special circumstances, high achieving students, the whole group of students we work with. On the next slide, you will see some information that we just published in our annual report for FY23. In that report, you'll see that every system in Georgia, every school system in Georgia does have career tech and ag education programs. Those programs may vary a little bit based on individual needs within a community. I'm proud to say what's on this second bullet up here is so true and is really the norm now and not the exception. And that is business and industry involvement with career tech and ag education. I've been in career tech and ag education my entire career, and we are at an all-time high with the business and industry involvement, and that just warms my heart. It doesn't mean that we need to back off by any stretch of the imagination. We just need to keep doing that quality work with business and industry. We can't do our work by ourselves. If we're going to get kids ready for the workforce, we've got to have people from the workforce working with us. Some of the information that's in our annual report is here on this screen and the next screen. I'm going to focus on the ones in the red box. That first box there in red shows that our completion rate for pathway completers, our high school graduation rate for pathway completers is 97.75%. That's 13 percentage points higher than the state average graduation rate. So we know that when students get involved in courses that they are passionate about and they enjoy going to, they succeed better. On the next slide, you'll see two items highlighted there in red. The first one is work-based learning. Work-based learning is where students leave the school for part of the day, they go into the workplace, they earn credit, and they also earn pay. We have are increasing in this area. We've got 27,594 reported in this year. We had 13,000 employers that participated. You know, I believe that it is so important for work-based learning to be a part of a student's career pathway while they're in high school. And it's not just good for the student, but it's good for business and industry as well. This gives business and industry an opportunity to invest in their potential employees ahead of time, and they can help shape those employees to be the type of employees that they want to be. In this particular annual report, we have a student that is a success story in work-based learning, and I just want to share a little bit about him. His name is Riley Morgan, and he was a work-based learning student at Kia. He did work-based learning while he was in high school, and when he was in technical college, he also worked part-time at Kia. His plan for a career was video game design, but he changed that career dream to robotics and has remained at Kia and is one of their great full-time workers there. So work-based learning is something I definitely want to encourage business and industry to get more involved in. We are also seeing an increase in the number of students that join and participate in our Career Tech student organizations. This is a great place for students to learn leadership skills, employability skills, and join the world of competition in areas that they are passionate about. Okay, next slide has got for you to see the high demand career pathway list, and just a little bit about that. I'm sure most of you have heard about House Bill 982. We're excited about this. This is where the State Workforce Board is going to develop, approve, and publish annually the high demand career list that identifies those careers that are most critical to our state and our future workforce needs. We're excited about this. We know that the pathways that we offer need to be aligned to the workforce needs, and our school systems are doing a better job of that. But once we get this list, I think we're going to see even greater things happening. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in the program. But on the next slide, we've got the 4 priorities that we have just established in our strategic plan. I wanted you to be familiar with those. And I wanted you to see that our #1 priority is to prioritize skill and industry alignment at the state and the local level. So that really plays into House Bill 982. We're going to be giving some extra incentives to our school districts that make sure that their pathways are aligned to the high demand career initiative list. Now, these priorities are priorities that we did not develop these sitting at the Twin Towers and thinking about what we needed to do as educators. This was a year-long process where Joseph Lillyblad served as our co-chair and Stuart Countess from Kia served as the chair. And we engaged many different business and community folks as well as educators to develop this strategic plan. On the next slide, is highlighted one of our alignment initiatives that we have just implemented, and it's the SME, Society of Manufacturing Education Equipment Grants. We have 11 different school districts, and actually 12 different schools because one district's got 2 in their schools that received these grants. This was at a tune of $4.5 million that the superintendent invested in this. This helps our manufacturing programs receive more industry equipment. It also gives them some professional development. And as I've talked to teachers that have received these grants, that's the #1 thing that they talk about is that professional development, how good that training has been for them. But we've got 6 different economic development regions that are represented in these grants. We wanted to make sure we were spreading these across the state. We know that manufacturing is big, big, big in Georgia right now, and those manufacturing companies are across the state in many different places, so we wanted to be consistent with that. One thing that I really like, there's a lot of things I like, but one thing I want to highlight to you that goes along with what we're talking about today, and that being the alignment process, is these equipment grants that went to the different school districts had an industry needs assessment done by the SME folks. They came into the local school districts, they met with the different manufacturers in the communities, and they realized, that in some cases, a system should focus more in mechatronics and robotics, while it may be more important to focus in industrial maintenance in certain areas and in machining and fabrication in others. So we have 6 schools that are doing the manufacturing and robotics as part of this SME equipment grant. 4 are doing the industrial maintenance, and 2 are doing the machining and fabrication. So that just shows you one glimpse of an initiative that we're doing that does help with that alignment piece. All right, Patrick is going to share with you some information that'll further talk about the alignment initiatives that we're doing. If you don't know Patrick, we are delighted that he joined our team a few years ago. He is our Economic Development Liaison and does a great job for us. Patrick, it's yours.
Thank you, Dr. Wall. I appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you this morning. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank Dana and Joy and Daniela, who couldn't join us this morning, and all the other folks at Max for supporting CTAE and giving us this opportunity to share some information with you. We also appreciate all of you that are joining us this morning and taking time out of your busy Friday mornings to spend an hour with us. As Dr. Wall said, I'm going to spend some time here highlighting some additional work we're doing in terms of alignment throughout the state of Georgia. What you see on the screen here is the Georgia Alignment Toolkit. And there is a QR code there. You can scan that and it'll enable you to directly pull it up on your phone. But also post-meeting this morning, the wonderful folks at Max will share out this PowerPoint. So if you're not able to do so right now, you'll be able to take advantage of the QR code and the other links that are embedded in the presentation. So no worries there. But this alignment toolkit is definitely our 2.0 version. We released a version a couple years ago, and now we've been able to update it with support and partnership from the great folks at the Carl Vinson Institute of Government at UGA. And essentially, it's all about innovative strategies and robust solutions directed toward workforce development and how you can build pathway alignment in your community. So not only is this toolkit for education, but it's also for industry. It's for economic development stakeholders. It's for workforce development communities and economic development councils and development authorities that are investing in building talent pipelines within their community with K-12. So whenever you get an opportunity, I encourage you to just spend a few minutes looking through this document and deciding how it may support this work in your community. There are 4 main sections of the alignment toolkit. What is alignment? Truly defining what that means, what that practice is. Alignment partners, the key stakeholders that need to be at the table to achieve this work. How to do a proper needs assessment, truly evaluating what your local community and what your region needs in terms of your labor market, and really being able to evaluate the strategies that you have in place. And alignment in practice, truly putting those thoughts and ideas and innovation to work, so to speak. A lot of times we gather a lot of talented folks in the room and we get the right people at the table and we have this really great agenda. But what happens after that meeting? What's the work in between meetings? How are you truly getting that alignment done? And this is so valuable. It's so important because it's creating opportunities for our most precious asset. And that's our students, right? That's the future talent pipeline of our state. And just like we're trying to do, like our local economic developers are trying to do, and like many of you attending this presentation this morning, we want to train and develop our best talent to want to live, work, and play in the state of Georgia. And this toolkit certainly can support that effort. One project I'd like to highlight this morning and spend a few minutes on is a project that's coming out of the Savannah region, and a strategy that's being built around that. A true catalyst of this development is the Hyundai Meta Plan in Bryan County, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, or maybe even involved with some of that work. And when you have a meta project like that land in a community, it really has this reverberation effect on the school systems, on existing industry, on the neighboring counties, and in the since it's a automotive manufacturing installation and project, you're going to have the suppliers also move into the area. So the counties surrounding where that job site is going to experience growth. They're going to experience interest from other industries, workers moving into the area. So it's really this domino effect that requires both proactive and reactive strategies to support the new industry coming in and also your existing industry, and also creating those opportunities of engagement for your students. But then, of course, how do we continue to support our existing industry? So out of that, the Savannah Economic Development Authority created a branch that ended up turning into RISE, and their logo's there on the screen. And the whole intention of RISE is to focus on workforce development in the communities of that region of the state. And they came to us. This project has really been going about 6 months, and it's picking up steam and is continuing to grow as strategies are put into place. And they came to us, the RISE leadership, with their intention, who they are, what they wanted to accomplish. And so back in March, we had a regional meeting that was facilitated by Carl Vinson Institute, Greg Wilson and his team. And we brought in Effingham County, Bullock County, Savannah Public Schools, and Bryan County, their superintendent, their CTAE director. They also brought in about 20 local and regional business and industry to talk about their workforce needs, their current workforce development programs, and then the school systems were also able to share about what they're currently offering in terms of alignment to the needs of those industries. And it was a really tremendous conversation. And it was great to just get all those people in the room. It was great to have that much industry present. They were taking time out of their busy day to be there. And it was very collaborative. And we left with a lot of action items about what comes next. And we're already exploring that. They're also exploring not only in addition to K-12, but what can they also do for the adult population in that segment of RISE as strategy and work. And also, we're beginning with these 4 counties, but then how do we expand that out to the other counties surrounding this region? So this is truly an example of alignment in practice, but then also a regional workforce development strategy involving, of course, your larger communities, specifically Savannah, and then even more rural districts and rural communities surrounding that. And just that high level of collaboration is so essential. That is how we all truly, quote unquote, get a win, and that is certainly collaboration. Another great, fantastic project that took place this spring is the Why Georgia Works Alignment Grant, and we're really proud of this. It is a partnership between the governor's office, the Georgia Department of Education, the Georgia Department of Economic Development. And the Georgia Department of Economic Development allocated us some funds to offer a grant to our local school systems. Essentially, the grant would pay for a year-long cohort where districts would be able to work on a pathway alignment action plan, facilitated and technical assistance provided by UGA's Carl Vinson Institute of Government. So a really hands-on, high-level process with a lot of holistic strategy built in to really support these districts in that alignment work. So over the course of FY25, through a series of virtual and in-person meetings, and also work on the local level that's required, these districts will build that action plan, and then we'll track that as it goes into practice. 15 school districts from around the state of Georgia received this grant that was approved by the state board in May of up to $15,000 that they could budget for to participate in this grant. And if at the link there, once again, you'll receive this presentation post meeting. You'll be able to click that link. You'll see the press release with additional information and the list of the 15 districts that may be participating. Your own school district may be participating. One key detail about this is it's not just our CTAE directors or superintendents that are participating in this process. It is a requirement that your economic development stakeholders, your post-secondary partner, and other key stakeholders in your community also have to participate. Those folks have to attend our kickoff workshop next month. So I think that's a crucial piece. We're aligning the key individuals in the beginning before the work even begins. And we have some rural districts participating, and then we have some larger school districts from the state participating. So we're really excited about this. We're really excited about this work. You know, it's really setting the tone for alignment that really aligns with House Bill 982 and the goals, some of the goals of that legislation. But it's also creating this blueprint of how to achieve pathway alignment at a high level and making those tough decisions or making those strategic decisions involving your partners. So not only are we excited about FY25, but also the FY26 and beyond, how this work's going to translate to even more activities involving workforce development synergies and CTAE. One project we always want to highlight is our Economic Development Partnership designation, which we always refer to as the EDP. And this process was in development, was built in 2018 and 2019 initially in partnership with Georgia Power, DOE, and the Georgia Economic Developers Association, commonly referred to as GEDA, if you are familiar. So these key stakeholders were at the table at the development of this designation. And so we had our pilot year, and then of course, unfortunately the pandemic happened, and then I joined the team in 2020, and we were able to actually begin our first year truly in FY22. And we've been off and running ever since. But the EDP is a district-wide certification process that enables school districts to adopt best practices and behaviors that support program development and align with key regional industries. There's that key term again we're talking about this morning, alignment. I do always want to point out, we're not designating a particular school. We're designating the entire school district and how that district, what role they're playing in local workforce and economic development. Are they a key partner at the table? Are their programs aligned? Are they really operating with high-level stakeholder engagement and creating those in-demand student opportunities? We look at 6 areas when we're doing the EDP with a district. We look at advisory committees, industry certification of pathways, which is essentially a stamp of approval from industry on the alignment of a particular pathway. The health and operation of the work-based learning program, which Dr. Wall highlighted earlier. Evidence of employability, skill and development and application. So, standard 1 in any CTAE course is employability skills. But we evaluate from K through 12 how that's being implemented, how they are reaching students with that programming. Pathway alignment to local and regional economy. Are the pathways that are being offered truly an alignment with local and regional workforce needs? And then the culture of economic development within the school district and the community. And then there's also a lot of other areas that fall underneath those 6 categories. How are counselors participating in workforce development? How are you investing in STEM and STEAM? How are the health of your CTSOs, your student organizations? So we really kind of pull back the curtain and take a look at a district inside and out. This is a map of the state of Georgia as far as our designated districts and those that are pursuing it. We're wrapping up our FY24 districts here in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to 3 new districts joining us in FY25. As you can see, we've been able to designate in a variety of regions and economic regions across the state. You can also see areas where there's more work to be done. Georgia Power Foundation supplies a small grant to each participating district that's accepted into the program to fund economic development related activities such as externships. And we're really, really appreciative of their sponsorship and their participation with the EDP. If you have any questions about this process, don't hesitate to reach out. If it's something that maybe you would like your school district to explore, we're always willing to meet with folks and to provide more information about the process. Here's our internet presence for CTAE from Godot, from the Department of Education. We have our main website with all the information you need about CTAE at the state level. We have our social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow. It's a great way to learn about state initiatives. It's also a great way to learn about all the great programs and student achievements all across the state of Georgia. And it's just a great way to continue to be plugged in on how we are a major part of Georgia's workforce development ecosystem. And also the annual report, ctaedelivers.org. Dr. Wall highlighted that report earlier in our presentation, but we've done a wonderful job of really creating a one-stop shop with that annual report site. Not only can you view the physical annual report, you can learn all about CTAE, our footprint in the state of Georgia. You can also check out some really great labor market information data related to our pathways and our programs, and you can really kind of see on that data piece the level of impact we're having across the state. And finally, I want to leave you with this. Through energized curriculum, holistic workforce development strategies, relevant real-world student experiences, and high-level partnerships, we're building Georgia's future talent pipeline together. And Georgia is the #1 state for doing business for a variety of reasons, but one of those ways is because of our ability to collaborate across multiple levels, how we're able to vertically integrate workforce development strategies, but that is through partnerships and collaborations. And one of those great partnerships is Max. So we appreciate all of you being here this morning, and we look forward to the opportunity to continue this discussion this morning on all things CTAE and pathway alignment. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dana. Thank you for allowing us to present this morning.
Thank you so much to Dr. Wall and to Patrick for sharing some really great information with us today. Before I get to the Q&A, I do want to just ask a question. There was a couple of mentions of House Bill 982, I believe. Can you talk more? Can you tell us what that is for those of us who may not be as familiar with that bill and how it relates to the work that you all are doing?
That bill came out this legislative session, and the Workforce Board will be creating the list of high demand careers. We will take that list and compare that to our pathways, and we will identify the pathways that relate most to the high demand career fields. And then we will be giving different incentives. One type of incentive that we'll provide to our school districts will be on the CCRPI. They'll have extra points in that category of pathways if they are offering the high demand pathways. Now, the list will not come out until December. So I'm on the Governor's Workforce Strategies Steering Committee, and we know that the top 3 industries for the whole state will be manufacturing, healthcare, and logistics, no doubt. So, we're looking at what's the top 10, and we're wanting to kind of focus on that. So when that list comes out, we'll cross-reference our pathways and determine which pathways need to be considered high demand. Now, we know that it may be different in the different regions across our state based on industry there. So what we're throwing, all of these are just ideas that we're throwing around right now, but what we're looking at is there will be a regional list. And we're trying to decide which regional list are we going to use. Georgia has so many different regional lists. It will probably be the economic development regions. But we would look at those regions and have the workforce boards there identify their top career high demand areas. And then we're looking at X number of regional careers that make it would end up going on the state list. So we'll be looking at a variety of lists. We'll look at the regional list of workforce demands and high demand areas, and then there will be a state list. So that list may vary where you live. But we felt like that was important because industry varies in different locations. When we talk about a timeline for when will all of this go into effect, I would say, and this is just approximate, since this list will not come out until December, on our end, we'll be doing a lot of communication, talking about what's going to take place. I would say by January, we should have our high demand pathways out there. Keep in mind that school districts can't stop on a dime and pivot and change from one pathway to another. There are facilities that have to be in place. There's high level equipment that has to be in place. So, they may look at making some changes, but, they may have to plan for those changes. It takes 18 months to apply for an equipment grant from our legislators to get the equipment in place. And that alignment toolkit that Patrick mentioned will be very helpful to our local folks when they're talking about making changes in the pathways they do offer.
That's great information. And are those lists, there was a question about, are those lists available to the public? So the high demand lists that you all are going to be using to inform your work, are those lists available to the public?
It will be available to the public in December. They haven't created it yet, but in December, the list will be available for everybody.
Yeah. And it's really going to enable from locally, regionally, and statewide, all these workforce development groups and committees that are already doing this work. It's really going to provide direction. So it's really going to be able to benefit strategies. It's going to benefit local industry and statewide industry partners. And it's really going to have this domino effect. There's a lot of investment and a lot of time and resources focusing on workforce development right now. And to be able to have those lists available saying, hey, this is what the state is deeming as in demand. This is what we're saying is going on in your region and in your community. It's really going to help, drive and be that base level infrastructure for how to make those strategic decisions and develop initiatives across the state.
I'd like to add something about Perkins. Perkins 5 is our federal funding stream for career tech for the post-secondary as well as secondary education. It's been around for many years, but Perkins 5 came out and we started implementing that in fall of 2020. With that, the big game changer in Perkins 5 over the past versions of that is the comprehensive local needs assessment. This is where local districts have to engage certain stakeholders, and they're spelled out as to who those stakeholders are in making the decisions for their Perkins allocations to be spent. Some districts are much better at engaging their stakeholders than others. I believe this list will help with that engagement piece better. It clearly will identify what those high demand areas are, and I think will help engage some conversation with just the right people to make things happen at the schools.
That does lead us into another question that was asked from the audience in relation to how funding is leveraged. So you mentioned the SME grants. Are those leveraged with other dollars that come out of the states to push forward these initiatives, or is everything kind of exclusive to the funding that's provided for that particular projects?
Well, there's federal funding, and that's the Perkins funding that's always there. But we have several state grants that are provided. Our legislators are good to career tech. They see the importance and the value of it. to improve our workforce across the whole state. So they put grant money in each year. We've had some special grants, just like everybody has over the past few years with some of the CARES money, the ESSER funds. I hate to say, but that's drying up and going away, as y'all well know. But that SME grant was part of the ESSER funds and the CARE package. So many school districts, you have to put in local money too. I mean, there's not just state and federal money. For the federal Perkins money that we receive, every local school district has to put in a certain amount in order to spend those funds. So there's a different pots of money out there that have to be used. Many times industry will kick in and help with needs that are directly aligned with their initiatives.
There was another question around how school districts are selected to participate in some of these special grants. There was a reference to one of the maps that Patrick shared, and there was a few counties that had, colors, and then there was a lot of counties that didn't. They, kind of were white, meaning that there wasn't any investment related to those specific projects. So in general, how are school districts selected to participate in these special initiatives that you all have, or do they self-select, or how does that process work?
Well, with the EDP, if that was the map that you're referring to, that's all voluntary. School districts choose to do that. And they go through an stringent application process. They do a SWOT analysis with their business partners. Actually, the business partners do a SWOT analysis, and the school system does a SWOT analysis, and then they, have some conversation about, how they see things. But they apply, and then they get selected and go through that process. Now, with the SME grant, again, it was an application. Now, we reached out to some of our schools that offered manufacturing. If the schools did not offer manufacturing yet, it would be hard, I wouldn't say impossible, but hard to receive those grants. With the SME, it was basically taking a manufacturing program and just elevating and making that program even better. And we were conscientious about trying to make sure that we did spread that across the state and not just in one little section of the state. But most of our grants are voluntary, where you apply. They're highly advertised.
The Why Georgia Works alignment grant was advertised. Any school district, could apply. There was, no requirement. Typically, as Dr. Wall said, most of our grants are open statewide, and we do a really good job of advertising those grants and pushing that information out. The DOE has recently updated their grant site to make it a lot more streamlined and easy to access. It's very public facing, and also just the grant applications themselves have been adapted to an easier to use, more streamlined platform.
Obviously, business and industry being at the table is crucial to all of this work. What makes a good partner as it relates to business and industry? How do you all maximize those relationships to really push this work forward? Because I'm sure there's a lot of businesses who would say, would volunteer and say, I want to work with the school district, but they may not be the best fit for a partnership. So are there qualities or criteria that you all use to vet businesses that are going to be partnering with the school districts and some of this work?
We have some training sessions, business and industry partnership training sessions that address much of that. But you've got to develop relationships with business and industry and schools, and that doesn't come overnight. There's got to be trust in those relationships, to the point that you can pick the phone up and call and someone take your call and know that you're focused on the same types of initiatives. We've got several different initiatives that business and industry can help with. Some help us by judging some of the student competitions. Some serve on our advisory councils and give us some great encouragement and words of wisdom about what they really need in the workforce and how we can all work together. A true excellent business and industry advisory council is not chaired by the school district. Is chaired by that business person. But there's got to be that cooperation and willingness to work together to see that everything's not perfect, but what can we do together to change and improve what we've got? But if everybody keeps their mind on the mission, and that's what can we do to help get these students in that career pipeline and ready for the workforce. It's a give and take. It's not about districts holding our hands out and saying we need money. Money's nice and it is critical for certain things, but there's got to be a true plan in place that's going to benefit everybody involved, the business and industry, as well as the educators and students. And to us, the student is the number one focus of our priorities.
We put especially with a lot of our professional development or professional learning, we all communicate in silos, whether that's intentional or not. You have business and industry, and then you have education. Each of us have our own red tape. Each of us have, these small little details that the other party has to understand. Educators, for example, they don't have open access to their email all day, right? They're in the classroom, they're teaching, they're instructing, they may be out of the classroom with their students, while our economic development folks and some of our industry partners, emails consistently in front of them. So sometimes it's the small little details that we can shift a little bit in order to break out of those silos. It may be that, our CTAE director tweaks some of the information that they're pushing out to be a little bit more business friendly, to kind of slow down on some of the education, acronyms so that it can be processed. And, rather than a 50-page document, it's, a one-pager that really tells the story, and just helping our educators understand, how to utilize their data to tell the story, and understanding, labor market information. And we offer a lot of professional learning on how to utilize labor market information. So it's not this, one size fits all. Every school district and community is a little bit different. There's a variety of industry sectors. One community may have one major industry, that focuses on tourism. Its neighboring county may have 100 manufacturers. So you really have to, develop those local relationships, and just create those opportunities for collaboration.
There was a mention in the chat around the Peach Education Tax Credit. Can you all talk about that or explain that to the folks who may not be familiar with what that is?
Is Paige, did I see Paige's name on the?
She was the one that put it in.
Okay. She's in charge of that, and she does a great job promoting that. It's where some of your tax money can be deferred to certain schools, for instance, and the schools can use that. And this would be a great thing to do to help improve the career tech programs in each local school district. So she's got a contact or a website, I think, in there. In the chat, you can go on there and find out all about it. And if you need some help with it, Paige Busby can help you.
Great, thank you. There was another question around if your workforce committees will be working to ensure that the HOPE career grant is also aligned with the workforce list that we published in December. Is that something that you are involved in?
Yeah, the technical college usually posts a high demand list that has to do with the HOPE scholarships. All of that's tied in together with all of this.
Oh, so there's a question around how people get connected to you all. So do you recommend that businesses or organizations that have particular interest in the area reach directly out to the CTAE program directors at each school, or does it come through your office? What's the best way for people to
if you're talking about at the state level, contact me, contact Patrick. We'll get y'all to the right people. But if you're talking about the local level, I would suggest two people. Either the career tech director or your school superintendent. Either one of those, because that career tech director is very limited on what they can do without the superintendent's support. So either one of those people in the local district would be a good person to reach out to.
Additional question, and then if anyone has any additional questions, please put them in the Q&A in the chat before we wrap up. So just a final question as it relates to Max membership and how we all can get involved in supporting the work that you do. I think the data that you presented at the beginning really speaks truth to the fact that this process works, that the work that the investments that are being made as relates to CTAE, but just really investing in the students and their career pathways is working. And so, Max being a network of a lot of different variety of workforce development, entities, whether it be nonprofits or workforce boards or companies or et cetera. Are there ways that you all feel like or will recommend for us to get involved to support this work?
Yes, I would encourage any business and industry interested, as well as some of our Max members, to reach out to those local career tech directors or the superintendent and volunteer to serve on their advisory councils or volunteer to help with that local comprehensive workforce needs piece. That's a big, heavy lift, and it's very important. And that really does tie in the workforce needs and what the schools offer. Be familiar with that alignment toolkit that Patrick mentioned, because there's definitely places in there for business and industry to work. I know, many of these areas, like logistics, I know is one of the top three. We have very few logistics programs in our schools across Georgia. The reason is very few teachers. It's hard to find those teachers. So sometimes businesses can step up to the plate and say, we will send you one of our employees to help train these students as their teacher. Because that helps the industry if they, can work in that way. So there's a lot of different creative ways that business and industry can help. And much of that can be determined by serving on that comprehensive local needs assessment that they ask all kinds of questions and look at all kinds of data within the school district, the workforce in the area, and that's a great place to be.
And that alignment tool that you all mentioned, I think that's a great, I wanted to reference back to that. I think that's a great tool, and I really applaud you guys for developing it in such a comprehensive way. So for those of us that were on the call that weren't able to get the screenshot or take the QR code, as we mentioned, we will send out this entire presentation, and so you'll be able to access that tool directly from the presentation.
Dana, Patrick has put another link in the chat box. It's to our Georgia Career Pipeline. That's a great public website you may want to tap into. It has a whole host of information. One thing you can see is what pathways are offered in particular school districts. And actually at every single high school in Georgia, what are the pathways that are offered there? What career tech student organizations are students involved in? What industry certifications are they receiving? Just a whole host of information about what's going on in your career tech world in the schools across the state of Georgia.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, the pipeline also has contact information for your district's CTAE director, or if your scope of work is more regional or statewide, you're able to see that same information. And just to echo in Dr. Wall, just get involved, really learn about what's being offered in your school district. Especially if you're involved with workforce development for your organization. When was the last time you visited a CTAE lab or attended a CTSO event? Really learn what's available, what opportunities your students have in your community, and then maybe figure out a way how you can collaborate, how maybe you can create student opportunities within your organization. Innovation isn't always some brand new piece of artificial intelligence technology. Sometimes it's just thinking about the same thing, but in a different way. And, how can you work together through your different scopes of work to partner with students, and how to partner with CTAE?
I know I said final question, but I did see a lot of kind of technical schools that were represented on the call today. And can you kind of just summarize how your programs kind of feed into the programs that they offer, or is there alignment there? What does that look like? Yeah.
That is definitely another alignment piece, is aligning to post-secondary, whether it's the technical college or university system. But we have a very close relationship with the technical college, and we definitely try to align our work with their work. And that helps our students, and it helps our business and industry too. When you've got systems that are aligned, students can go through that system a lot faster and get to work sooner. They don't have to go and repeat what they've done in high school at a post-secondary institution. And that was happening a few years ago, but we're trying to reduce that and use what the students learn at the high school level to convert and align with what's going to be learned at the technical college. But lots of good work going on between the technical college and the Department of Education. They have representatives on that steering committee with the governor's workforce, along with several other agencies in the state.
Okay, great. And I did see someone at least posted an example of one. So alignment is always key, and I appreciate you all for being here this morning. Thank you all for sharing some really great information as it relates to all the wonderful things that are happening at the state level, but even regionally, and then at the individual school level. I think, just to echo the data that you all presented, obviously points to the fact that this is important. And as much as we, as Max, but also our members can get involved and support the work that you're doing. You gave some really great suggestions on how to get involved, visiting the schools, connecting with the superintendents, connecting with the CTAE directors. I think those are all, and then really understanding what is on the list. What are the high demand industries that we are targeting, and really focusing the work on that list. And if we're all focused on that list, hopefully we can all have better impact. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Wall, for your time this morning. Thank you, Patrick, for your time this morning. I do have a few just housekeeping things as it relates to Max before we completely end today. That's not it. Okay. I just want to mention that we have a couple of events coming up soon that you may be interested in. We have a Max Talks that's going to be planned as relates, and Max Talks is our interface directly with business. And so we set up meetings and opportunities for workforce practitioners to engage with businesses, visit their campuses, understand what their hiring needs are. So look forward to information related to that soon. And then our Max Academy in August will be focused on psychological safety as it relates to providing human service. So continue to keep up with Max and all the great events that are happening. If you are not a member and interested in becoming a member, please visit our website to find out more about how to join Max. We have access to these great opportunities to hear from our leaders from across the state in several different aspects of workforce development and how all things engage. So I encourage you, if you are not already a member, to join. And lastly, again, to just thank our anchor sponsors and investors for the work that they do as it relates to Max. So that's our presentation for this morning. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, thank you to Dr. Wall and to Patrick for your time this morning.